Traditional budgets are designed to fail. They ask you to track every dollar, categorize every latte, and feel guilty every time you overspend. You spend hours on spreadsheets, download expensive apps, and by February, you're back to your old habits, feeling like a failure. But here's the truth that the budgeting industry doesn't want you to know. There is a simpler way. A 1-minute method that doesn't require tracking, doesn't require willpower, and works forever. It's called the reverse budget, and it's how the wealthy have managed their money for generations. If you stay until the end of this video, you'll learn exactly how the reverse budget works, why it's more effective than any 50-30-20 or zero-based budget, and the simple 1-minute setup that will change your financial life forever. You'll never need to track another expense again. My name is your name, and today we're going to fix your relationship with money. Let me start with a story that will sound painfully familiar. A few years ago, a client named Rachel came to me. She was exhausted. She had tried every budgeting method. She used spreadsheets, she used YNAB, she used the envelope system. She tracked every single dollar for 3 months straight. She felt like a failure every time she bought a coffee she hadn't budgeted for. She told me, "I spend more time managing my budget than I do earning money. I hate it. I want to give up." I asked her a simple question. What if you didn't have to track anything? What if you just decided how much to save, moved that money automatically, and spent the rest on whatever you wanted without guilt? She looked at me like I was crazy. We set up the reverse budget. She automated 20% of her income to savings and investments. The remaining 80% went to her checking account. She spent that money on anything she wanted. No categories, no tracking, no guilt. 6 months later, she had saved more money than in the previous 2 years combined. She told me, "I don't know why everyone doesn't do this." The reverse budget is not complicated. You flip the traditional budget on its head. Instead of tracking where every dollar goes, you decide on your savings goal first. You automate that savings. Then you spend the rest without tracking. That's it. 1 minute of setup. A lifetime of freedom. Asterisk, why traditional budgets fail, the psychology of deprivation. Let me explain why traditional budgets don't work for most people. Traditional budgets require you to say no to yourself hundreds of times a day. No to the coffee, no to the lunch out, no to the Amazon purchase. Each no is a tiny act of willpower. Willpower is a finite resource. By the end of the day, you're exhausted. By the end of the week, you've broken your budget. Then you feel guilty. Then you give up. That's not a character flaw. That's human nature. The reverse budget flips the script. You say yes to your savings goal once at the beginning of the month. You automate the transfer. Then you never have to think about saving again. Every other dollar in your checking account is yours to spend without guilt. You don't need to track where it goes. You don't need to categorize your spending. You just need to make sure you don't overdraft. That's it. The mental load drops from daily to monthly. Asterisk, the 1-minute setup. How to implement the reverse budget today. Here's exactly how to set up your reverse budget in less than 60 seconds. Step 1. Calculate your pay yourself first number. This is the percentage of your income you will save. For most people, 20% is a good target. If you earn $50,000 a year, that's $10,000 per year, about $833 per month. If 20% feels impossible, start with 10% or even 5%. The key is to start. You can increase by 1% every month or every time you get a raise. Step 2. Decide where that money goes. The priority order is 401A up to the employer match, then Roth IRA, then HSA if eligible, then back to 401A, then taxable brokerage. But for simplicity, you can just increase your 401n contribution by 10 to 15% and call it done. Step 3. Automate. For your 401(n), log into your employer's portal and increase your contribution percentage. Do it right now. For your IRA, set up an automatic monthly transfer from your checking account to your Roth IRA on the day after your paycheck arrives. For your savings account, set up a separate automatic transfer to a high-yield savings account, STEEP 4. Spend the rest. Whatever money remains in your checking account after the automatic transfers is yours to spend on anything, without guilt, without tracking, without categorization. You don't need to know how much you spend on coffee, groceries, or entertainment. You just need to know that you've already paid your future self first. The math. Why the reverse budget is mathematically superior. Let me show you the numbers. Assume you earn $60,000 a year. You set up a reverse budget with a 20% savings rate. That's $12,000 per year. After taxes, roughly $12,000, you have about $36,000 left to spend. That's $3,000 per month. You don't track where that $3,000 goes. You just spend it. Over 30 years, that $12,000 per year, invested at 7% return, becomes over $1.1 million. That's your retirement. And you never tracked a single expense. Now compare that to the traditional budgeter who spends hours each week tracking, categorizing, and feeling guilty. They might save 15% less than you because they burn out. The reverse budgeter saves more because they don't burn out. The reverse budget is not about optimizing every dollar. It's about optimizing your behavior, and behavior is what actually builds wealth. The psychological shift from deprivation to abundance. Asterisk, the reverse budget changes how you think about money. Instead of feeling deprived every time you spend, you feel empowered every time you save. You've already taken care of your future. The money in your checking account is your reward for being responsible. You can spend it without guilt. That freedom is psychologically liberating. And when you're not stressed about money, you make better decisions. You're less likely to impulse buy because you're not in a scarcity mindset. You're more likely to invest because you see your savings growing automatically. The reverse budget creates a virtuous cycle. How to handle irregular income, the freelancer's reverse budget. If you have irregular income, the reverse budget is even more powerful, but you need a different approach. Here's what works. First, calculate your average monthly income over the last 12 months. Second, choose a pay yourself first percentage, say 20%. Third, each month, when you receive income, immediately transfer 20% to your savings and investment accounts. The remaining 80% is for spending. In high-income months, you save more. In low-income months, you save less. But you always save something. This removes the anxiety of feast or famine cycles. You never have to decide, how much should I save? You just follow the percentage. The reverse budget for couples, joint and separate accounts. If you're married or living with a partner, the reverse budget works perfectly with a hybrid account structure. Here's the system. First, set up a joint checking account for shared expenses, rent, utilities, groceries, insurance. Second, each partner contributes a set percentage of their income to that joint account, say 50% or 70% depending on expenses. Third, each partner has their own personal checking account for discretionary spending. Fourth, each partner automates their personal savings, Roth IRA, etc., from their personal account. The remaining money in each personal account is guilt-free spending money. This system gives you the benefits of teamwork, shared expenses, and autonomy, no tracking your partner's spending. It's the best of both worlds. The one mistake that ruins the reverse budget and how to avoid it. Asterisk, the biggest mistake people make with the reverse budget is not actually automating their savings. They set up the transfers, but then they borrow, from savings when they overspend their checking account, or they turn off the automation because they need the cash. Don't do this. The savings are not negotiable. Treat the automation like a bill. It's not optional. If you consistently run out of money in your checking account, you have two choices: increase your income or reduce your fixed expenses. But do not raid your savings. That defeats the purpose. How to increase your reverse budget savings rate over time. The 1% increment method is your friend. Every 3 months, increase your 401(n) contribution by 1%. Every time you get a raise, increase your savings rate by half of the raise percentage. Every time you pay off a debt, redirect that payment to savings. Over a few years, you can go from 5% to 20% without feeling a pinch. This is how the wealthy build wealth, not by earning more, but by saving more of what they earn. Asterisk. The reverse budget versus the 50-30-20 rule, a comparison. The popular 50-30-20 budget says spend 50% on needs, 30% on wants, and 20% on savings. That's a fine guideline, but it still requires tracking. You have to know what's a need versus a want. The reverse budget is simpler. Save 20% automatically, then spend the rest on whatever you want. No categories needed. For most people, the simplicity leads to better compliance, and the results are the same or better. Real example: from zero savings to $1,000 a month. A viewer named Rachel was 28 years old, earning $50,000 a year. She had no savings. She thought she couldn't afford to save. We set up the reverse budget. She increased her 401(n) contribution from 3% to 10%. That's $5,000 per year, or about $400 per month pre-tax. Her take-home pay dropped by about $300 per month. She cut her dining out from $300 to $200 and canceled unused subscriptions 50. She didn't feel deprived. After 6 months, she had $2,500 in her 401(n), more than she had saved in her entire life. She told me, "I didn't even notice the money was gone. It just happened automatically." 2 years later, she increased her contribution to 15% and opened a Roth IRA with a $200 monthly auto transfer. She's now on track to retire a millionaire, and she never created a budget. She never tracked a single expense. She just paid herself first. The reverse budget for debt repayment. If you have high-interest debt, the reverse budget still works, but you modify it. Treat debt repayment as a savings goal. Automate an extra payment to your credit card or loan on payday. Then spend the rest. You're paying yourself first by paying down debt. Once the debt is gone, redirect that automated payment to investments. This is the same principle. Automate, then spend guilt-free. A cautionary tale. Why the reverse budget is not a license to overspend. Asterisk. I need to add one important caveat. The reverse budget works only if you are not accumulating high-interest debt. If you automate your savings but then put $500 on a credit card every month because your spending account is empty, you're not winning. You're losing. The solution is to monitor your spending account balance. If it runs out before the end of the month, you have two choices: earn more or spend less. But do not touch the savings. The savings are sacred. If you consistently run out, you need to look at your fixed expenses: rent, car payment, insurance. Those are the real drains. The reverse budget exposes them because you can't hide behind category tracking. How to track thy reverse budget without tracking the one number. Even with the reverse budget, you should know one number: your monthly spending total. Not the categories, just the total. You can get this from your bank statement. At the end of each month, log in and see how much left your checking account. If it's negative or zero, you spent too much. If there's a surplus, move it to savings. That's it. One number, 1 minute per month. That's all the tracking you need. The 2026 Reverse Budget, A simple spreadsheet template. If you want to get slightly more organized, create a simple spreadsheet with 3 lines. Line 1, your after-tax monthly income. Line 2, your automated savings total, 401(n), Roth IRA savings account. Your spending money, income minus savings, that's it. No categories, no percentages, no guilt. Update it once a year when your income changes. Why the wealthy use the reverse budget, and you should too. Ask any millionaire how they budget. Most will give you a blank stare. They don't budget. They don't track expenses. They have a system. They save first, spend the rest, and invest the difference. That's the reverse budget. It's not about being cheap. It's about being intentional. It's about automating your financial life so you can focus on things that matter.
Your action plan. Do this today.
Asterisk, here's what you need to do in the next 10 minutes. First, calculate your pay yourself first number. Use 15-20% of your gross income as a starting point. Write it down. Second, log into your 401(n) portal. Increase your contribution by 2% today. Do it right now. Third, open a Roth IRA if you don't have one. Use Vanguard, Fidelity, or Schwab. Set up an automatic monthly transfer of whatever you can afford. $100, $200, $500. Link it to your checking account. Fourth, if you have short-term savings goals, open a high-yield savings account and set up an automatic transfer on payday. Use a separate bank to make it harder to access. Fifth, delete any budgeting apps that require you to track daily spending. You no longer need them. Sixth, commit to not lowering your savings rate for any reason other than a true emergency. Treat it like a bill. It's not optional. Seventh, comment below. I'm switching to the reverse budget starting today. I'll reply to the first 100 comments. If this video freed you from the tyranny of budgeting, hit the like button. It helps others discover the simple path. Subscribe and turn on notifications. In the next video, I'm going to show you how to use a CD ladder for your emergency savings. Earn 5% while keeping full access to your cash. The wealthy don't budget. They pay themselves first. You can too. Start today. I'll see you in the next video.